Hi there everybody, it's UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator Halsey here from SlimmandStylish.stampingup.net. Happy Easter! These are the cards that I have created to gift away over the Easter weekend and I have fell in love with them. They're using the Easter Bunny photopolymer stamp set and the coordinating punch. This is such a beautiful bundle and it's carrying over. It's going to be in a new annual catalogue, so if you want it for next Easter, you're still going to be able to get it. Now I'm going to be using my Memento ink here and I'm going to be stamping quite a few of these images. So I'm going to be doing 8 of all the little bits and pieces that are in the set. So I'm going to do 8 flower poses, 8 butterflies, 8 of the eggs and 8 of the miniature carrots. The reason why is today's video I'm going to show you how I bulk create my cards. So I'm going to be making 4 cards and each one is going to have 2 of these images on them. I find it a lot easier to do it sort of as a production line and do all of the stages in one go. It just takes a lot of time when you have to keep coming back. So while I've got the ink out, while I've got the pens out, I will be doing them like that. Now I've sped this up so you don't have to sit and watch me colour and cut for 8 different cards or 8 different images for 4 different cards more like. So I'll quickly go through what colours I'm using as I do. This is light and dark old olive. Now, what I try to do is the colours that I use in the poses, I am trying to bring into other areas of the card, just so it all correlates and pulls in together. So this is Dark Daffodil Delight that I'm using for the inners of all the flowers, the inners of the butterfly, the circle bits in the circle egg, and also for the grid bits in the grid egg. I'm now using Light and Dark Pool Party. So I'm using Dark Pool Party on the stripes. And then I'm also putting some shading along the edge of the circle egg. And then I'm going to cover him with the light pool party to create the shading. And I've done the whole of the grid egg with light and dark daffodil delight. Pumpkin pie, dark and light for the carrots. And I'm also going to be popping a flower in the posy to coordinate. Like I said, I want the posies to be the centre and have the same colours as the other images, so it just ties it all together. And I am going to come back and do myself a pool party flower as well. So light and dark Highland Heather for the outsides of the butterflies and also for one of the flowers so that they all coordinate together. And then I'm using Flirty Flamingo, light and dark for the centre flower. Now this is the only colour that doesn't appear elsewhere, but I just thought it gave it a bit of a pop. And as you can see, I'm using the light pool party to do the other flower. So they all sort of talk to each other. Now you can sit and fussy cut them, or if you've got a scan and cut or anything else like that, cut all of those pieces out. And now I'm creating my bunnies. So I need 4 of them, 1 for each card. I've stamped them all down and I've stamped them towards the edge of the cardstock because I'm going to be using the punch to punch them out. Now for the bunnies, I'm just going to use light and dark crumb cake. So what I've done is I've put some dark shading on and then I'm going around the edges with the bullet tip of the crumb cake because I'm messy. If I use the brush tip by the edge of the image, it will go over the lines. So I'm using the bullet tip to get that in and right. And then I'm just colouring in the centre using the brush tip, which is a lot quicker because you get the ink out a lot easier and it flows nicely. Once I've coloured these in, I'm going to be punching them out. And as you can see, I'm just going over and over the bits where the dark is so that it shades and blends in nicely. And I'm not worrying about doing any other colours with these. There's going to be a lot going on with this card. And the bunny is really just the focus point in the middle. So I want it to be as plain as possible. So now I've coloured all 4 of them in. It is so simple to line these up with a punch. Look at this. Punch. Punch. And it gives me 4 rabbits. So I've got these cut out now to add to my cut out images pile. And what I'm going to be doing is creating a frame for the rabbits. So I've cut it down to 8 centimetres by 8 centimetres, but what I did is I checked that the rabbit would fit in there first. So I've created squares that are 8 centimetres by 8 centimetres, and then at 1 centimetre intervals, I'm going to cut out the centre of these squares. Okay, so I've now got a spare 6 by 6 square, should ever I need it. But I'm cutting it out so that I've got a 1 centimetre frame. And I haven't gone all the way to the edges because I always panic about that. So I'm using snips just to finish it off. Now I've slowed this one down so you could see it. And you can see my bunny fits directly in the middle. I've just sped it up while I create the next 4 frames. Okay, but it's the exact same process of 8 centimetres by 8 centimetres, cutting a frame round at 1 centimetre in. Now I got the idea of doing the frames midway through the card because I was looking at the floral pieces and the carrots and everything else, and I thought, how do we position these on the card that doesn't just look random? And the frame was the best way to do it, and I really like this finished card idea. So it was first last minute thought, it was quite good. So now what I'm going to do is pop out all of my frames. I'm going to put all the bits that's going to be going on it. So I've got the double egg and the single egg because I cut them out separately. I've got all of the butterflies, all of the flowers and the carrots, and I've just zoomed in here so you can see what I do on the corners. So I've popped a little bit of glue and I'm just positioning these down on top of the glue. Where I run out of glue, I add a little bit more, pop the next one in, and I'm not going to be going all the way around the frame. That would require an awful lot of detail and it would really detract from the card. I'm just creating myself a little corner piece, and I'm using one of each. At the moment, I will go back and do a little bit of detail on the other side, which will use a second piece. As I've got more confident in knowing how I'm positioning them, I've just added the glue on straight away so I don't have to keep going back, and I'm just building the card up. This was really simple to do and I just felt it looked so effective. Now I could have left it like this or potentially made 8 cards with what I'd done, but I decided I had the cutouts, let's keep going. So I added the butterfly to the top left corner. And the good thing with the butterfly is I found that you could have it facing either left or right, it didn't matter at all. And then I added some more details to the left hand corner and ran them across the bottom just to create the finishing part of the frame. You can see I'm just feeding all of the images underneath the main image, and it's just going to create a nice little pattern along there which helps complement the frame. Now, as I said, you didn't have to do this. You could have just left it with the one bit of detail. That would have been nice. You could have sponged the frame. That would have also been lovely. I decided to leave it white because I'm going to be sponging the background of the card, but really up to you how you build this up. Okay, and then adding the carrots. The carrots were so cute. We had a carrot stamp set not long ago and I didn't get it because I just didn't like the carrots. And this set came with carrots in and I was like, oh, I'm never going to use those. Straight away, I was loving those. I think it's the pop of orange. I really just think it really does give a nice burst out. I had dropped a butterfly on the floor here, so that's why I took a bit of time. I had to pick it back up and find it. Actually, it fell under a shelf. So with that done, I'm going to be using, now you could use your strips, your foam strips or your adhesive background and cut that. I've decided to use the edges of the dimensionals. So these bits aren't generally used until the very end, and you just get bits left over. I'm cutting them down now so that my dimensional sheet, I'm using them already and putting them around the edge. So it's a really good, effective way of getting the 3D foam strips if you don't have them. Now, what I normally do when I finish with my set of dimensionals is I keep the sides. So in a minute, you'll find that I'm going to grab a whole host of these sides and start using those. I just put them in the front of my dimensionals box because I always know there's going to be a time where I'm going to want a strip of foam, and this is a very quick way of doing it. So I'm just popping these all the way around the back and I'm putting them on quite a bit. I'm not putting just 1 or 2, I'm running it the whole length because these are going to be sitting out of the card, and when I put them in the post, I'm not going to want them to go flat. As you can see, I am taking a bit of time in getting them on. The edges are quite fat because that's where the corner bit is, so I'm cutting those down and adding them on as well. And once that's finished, I can put them to the side and know my frames are ready to use in a little bit. And there we go, all done. Now I was going to do all of my cards the same, but then I thought about it, and there's 2 guys coming to Easter Sunday lunch and 2 ladies. So my mum and my aunt are coming, my brother and my partner's going to be there. So I decided to do them in all separate colours so that it just looked fun. I thought the ladies could have the pink and the purple, very gender colourful there, and the boys could have the orange and the blue. So what I did is I got Flirty Flamingo, Pumpkin Pie, Highland Heather and Pool Party. Got my cardstock, which is 9 centimetres by 13.8 centimetres. Sorry, 9.5 centimetres by 13.8 centimetres. And I've shaded the background in using the blending brushes for each one. And then I'm going to be sticking it onto the coordinating cardstock, which is 10 centimetres by 14.3 centimetres. Now the cardstock that I'm using for the backing cardstock, you're going to look at and you're going to say, but it's got holes in. Doesn't matter. What I do is I cut a whole load of my cardstock down so that it is 10 centimetres by 14.3, so it will be able to be a matte straight away. And then whenever I need a bit for punching, I punch it out the middle, because once you put the cover on, no one knows that the middle section of that cardstock is missing, only you and I. So it's a really good cost-effective way of getting your punches out of the cardstock. And there we go. So now what I'm going to do is add these onto my card bases. So these are A6 card bases that I've already cut and scored. I'm just folding and burnishing. And I'm going to add the fronts on, and you'll notice then there's a little bit of a white frame around them because of the sizing, and it just looks nice. So I didn't sponge the whole of the Whisper White, I just sponged the middle bit, and I quite liked that. It just looked like a pop of colour. And then I'm going to go around and take the backings off all my foam, so that's a bit of lengthy time because I put so much foam on. And I'm going to stick it onto the card towards the top but in the centre. I'm going to do this for all 4 of them. And it's amazing how that difference of colour at the background made all the cards look different. They're the exact same cards with just the sponging and the cardstock different at the back, but it made it look to me that they all look completely different. My favourite, and this is going to shock you all because my favourite colour is Pool Party, so I thought my favourite would be Pool Party, but it actually wasn't. It was Pumpkin Pie, and I think that's because I haven't used Pumpkin Pie that much, but I fell in love with the Pumpkin Pie one this year. I must use that more in my videos. In fact, you can tell I don't use it much. I was still on the old style stamping pad. Right, so for the bunnies, I'm going to be adding dimensionals in the back. I'm just adding 2 dimensionals, one at the top, one at the bottom. Literally, one on the head and one on his tushy. And then I'm going to be taking the backs off these, and I'm going to stick him in the centre of the frame. And he just fits, because we measured him earlier, but we've now added some details on. So he just fits into the centre of the frame there. How cute is he? I honestly loved doing this card. Finally, a sentiment. So in the actual set, there's a whole host of sentiments, and the one I used was Happy Easter. And I've stamped it 4 times. I got 2 pieces of cardstock thinking I'd need them, but managed to get my 4 onto 1, so that was very not needed. And I've just cut them down into a rectangle, and I've cut them quite tight to the wording. I didn't stamp them straight either, which was a bit silly, so I've had to cut them at an angle. But yes, you get 4 of them, and like I said, I've cut them really tight. I do come back and cut them even tighter at the edges as well, because I feel the majority of the detail is already on the card, so I don't want this to detract from it. I just want it to be the sentiment on there. And then I'm going to add some of the strips of the dimensionals back onto the back, like I did with the frame. Same sort of idea. And then I'm going to stick them onto the card. So as you can see, I'm using the another piece. Like I said, I always keep these edge pieces. You never know when you're going to need them. And I'm just sticking the sentiment onto the card. And I'm overhanging the matte piece so it's level with the actual card base. And that is pretty much it done. Just some rhinestones added for glitter. So I added our basic rhinestones and put those on in a mixture of places over the card, just so it didn't look, naked. It actually had a bit of glitter going on. And that was my finished Easter cards. This was a really last minute idea. I hadn't got a plan when I started it, other than the fact I was going to be making it, but I absolutely thoroughly loved them. And when I gave them to them all at Easter, they put them all on the shelves next to each other, and it just looked so colourful. Really attractive, using the Easter Bunny set and punch. You can get them from my store, SlimmandStylish.stampingup.net. Any order you place is gratefully received. Thanks for joining me today. Do please give me a like and a comment if you enjoyed the video, and see you soon.